Konnichiwa! In November 2013, my brother and I had the cool opportunity to visit one of my favorite places in the world, Japan. After about a 12-hour flight, we arrived in Narita, Japan, and then after that we took a shuttle bus from the airport to Megiddo or Megiddo Ward. It was a little late by the time we got there, so we just grabbed some ramen in a local shop and just explored around the local area. One of the things you'll notice when you visit Japan in late November to December is that Christmas is a very big theme down there, and you'll see a lot of Christmas decorations, including this cool chandelier or exhibit. Sistema foodie, one of the really cool things I noticed in the Yebisu area within Megiddo was the chateau for Joel Robuchon, who's a very famous French restaurateur. This chateau houses Restaurant Joel Robuchon, which is a 3 Michelin star restaurant, as well as La Table de Joel Robuchon, which is a 2 Michelin star restaurant. Needless to say, we did put in a reservation for one of the restaurants, and more about that a little bit later. But here's the chateau all lit up at night. Another interesting locale within the place we stayed was the Museum of Yebisu beer. More about that later. On our first full day in Japan, we went to the Hamarikyu Gardens. It's a public park in Chuo, Tokyo, and it's located at the mouth of the Sumida River. It was basically the villa for the Shogun Tokugawa family in the 17th century. Here's a tour map showing the sites of interest within the garden. We entered through the Ultimon Gate. Near the entrance to the garden, make sure to stop by the 300-year-old pine. It's a black pine and is one of the largest in Tokyo. The grounds of the garden are very well kept and beautifully pruned. Along the trails within the garden, you're going to see various flowers, plum tree groves, as well as peony garden. Unfortunately, the flowers are out of season, so you can only see the gardens as is here. However, even in the fall, you're going to see some truly beautiful sights, including the bright flaming autumn foliage. Along with the flowers and trees, you're going to see a few cool statues such as this. This is an award-winning statue of God of War. Throughout the villa of the garden, you'll see a few tea houses, including a tea house in Nakashima located in the middle of the pond in the garden that offers matcha and Japanese sweets in a tea ceremony style presentation. Here's another serene looking tea house within the city of Tokyo, and then when you look down closer, even a cute Nikko cat is relaxing right in front of the tea house. Here are a couple of other examples of traditional tea houses and some exhibits within them. Within the grounds, you'll also see a lot of ducks and birds. Interestingly enough, there was actually a duck hunting site within the villa for the shogun. There are a few hills within the villa where you can get some really nice vantage points to see all of the garden and the beautiful surrounding serene scenery. Some interesting facts about the garden is that the park is about 250,000 square meters of landscaped garden, and it is surrounded by a seawater moat filled by Tokyo Bay. As you walk through the serene garden, you almost forget that you're in one of the most densely packed cities in the whole world. Yet, when you look around beyond the skyline or beyond the tree lines, you will notice that you are still in a city. But for a second, you truly feel like you're in a serene, just a relaxing spot. Afterwards, we visited the Imperial Palace. Here's a map of the castle grounds. Here's one of the gates to enter through, and as you go through, you're going to see a moat going around the main castle. As you look off in the distance, there is Edo Castle. As you walk through the grounds of the Imperial Palace, you're going to see the Imperial Palace itself, various guard towers, as well as main gates here. As you enter through the gates, you'll be greeted with some barracks for, traditional barracks for samurais, basically to guard the emperor. And there's also a few interesting exhibits that explain the architecture of how they built the castle, the Edo Castle itself. Along the grounds, you'll also be greeted with a few various gardens, including the Fukiyage Garden and the East Garden, where most of the administrative buildings of the palace are located. In the East Garden, you'll also find the Peach Blossom Music Hall. It is a music hall that was built in commemoration of the 60th birthday for Empress Kojong in 1963. It is a ferro concrete building and pretty cool looking architecture. It's basically an octagon shape. We then took a break from Chiyoda, and as we were walking around, HG noticed his former employment area, Oracle. There's some pretty cool temples as well, including this Kitsune temple. Juxtaposed to this, you'll see these modern buildings with cool anime-like posters such as this Gundam. For dinner, we decided to try out La Table de Joel Robuchon. Here's the place setting, very classy. For the amuse-bouche, we had a egg yogurt-like soup with some potato chips off to the side. There was also what appeared to be like konnyaku type bits in the soup, but tasted great, nice, warm, very velvety. To start off, we had an assortment of 3 entrees or 3 appetizers. The first of which was a pate that included both pork and duck liver. There was a seasonal salad off the side with some truffles on top. It was an excellent, very rich appetizer to begin with, very well balanced and just truly exceptional. Additionally, there was I believe a cauliflower soup, nice and warming. The third appetizer was a seafood salad with some crab meat on top and basically flavor-infused gelatin on the bottom. Next came up the foie gras. The seared foie gras came with some mushrooms on top and edible greens. This was truly decadent. It was perfectly cooked, nice crispy outside, very fatty, juicy inside. An alternative to the seared foie gras is the Hokkaido scallops. These Hokkaido scallops come with some caviar on top, gold leaf, some beef creme fraiche. Again, another great dish, very fresh, very clean tasting. You really, truly taste the sea. Next came up a fish dish. This was a white fish that was seared, and then it came with some pretty cool cured mullet roe slices. The cured mullet roe was perfectly cooked with a nice soft inside, and the briny taste really went well with the mild white fish flavor. HG, on the other hand, he went with a prawn dish. Came with, I believe, 2 or 3 just huge pieces of prawn. Per HG, basically tasted like shrimp. For the main dish, I went with the lamb chop. It was perfectly well cooked to medium. It also came with some potato slices and I believe a stuffed roll with warm lamb meat. The lamb chop, very nice and soft, very flavorful with a nice crispy outside, and you can see the beautiful juice on the plate. HG, on the other hand, he went with the beef dish. This came with some truffles on top as well. The beef was perfectly cooked again, nice bark of crispiness on the outside with intense wagyu beefy flavor on the inside. For dessert, HG went with the more traditional sweet flavors. Here you have I believe like an ice cream with a candied top. As for me, I went with the persimmon with vanilla ice cream. This was a very sublime, subtle, but very well-balanced dessert. On day 2, we were greeted by a beautiful sunny day. The crisp, clear morning air allowed for a clear view of Mount Fuji off in the distance, as you can see here. We then made our way to the Meiji Shrine. As you approach the main gates to the Meiji Shrine, off to the left, you will see an area where you can wash up and clean your hands. As you enter through the main gates of the Meiji Shrine, you then enter the courtyard. Here are a different couple of vantage points or views of the courtyard. You can see the main gates that you're going to pass through, and off to the left and to the right. The Meiji Shrine is a Shinto shrine that's dedicated to the deified spirits of Emperor Meiji and his wife. It's located in an evergreen forest. The shrine itself is composed of 2 major areas. There's an inner area where various shrine buildings, including a treasure museum shown above, is located. The treasure museum contains articles of the emperor and the empress, and it's built in an Azakura-zakuri style. Outside the museum itself, you're going to see some really cool exhibits like the wooden ship, as well as these stone tablets, and the statue, which I'm not sure what it stands for, but looks pretty neat. Unfortunately, I have no pictures to show you of the inside because no photos are allowed within, but definitely go check it out. There's some cool items in there, and just to see the history of the Meiji restoration period. While leaving the Meiji Shrine area, we noticed a public bathroom or a restroom, and I have to say this was the cleanest bathroom I've ever seen in a public area. Truly amazing and to be expected in Japan. Next, we went to the Katana Sword Museum. This is a pretty cool museum hidden in a suburban area in Tokyo. The museum highlights how the swords were made as well as showcases multiple different blades. If you're a Japanese sword enthusiast, this is definitely a place to come check out. Cool exhibits. Afterwards, we acted like tourists and went to Shibuya Crossing. Shibuya is one of the big shopping districts within Tokyo, and it's next to Shibuya Station, one of Tokyo's busiest railway stations. This has a very famous crossing where you've probably seen it in movies, and it's quite a mesmerizing sight once you actually sit in a coffee shop and just watch people streaming back and forth in a very chaotic yet controlled manner. At Shibuya, you'll also find a really cool bronze statue of Haichiko. He is a Akita dog that is well known in Japan for his loyalty to his owner. As the story goes, a professor at the University of Tokyo took Hachiko as a pet in 1924. The professor would commute daily to work, and Hachiko would leave their house to greet him at the end of the day near Shibuya Station, and the two of them would continue this daily routine until May of 1925. Unfortunately, the professor didn't come home that day because he suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and unfortunately passed away. Nonetheless, Hachiko would continue to go to Shibuya Station every day at the same time, expecting his owner to come back, and he continued to do this for the next 9 years until he passed away in 1935. Since then, he's been revered in Japan, and in fact, his fur is preserved at the National Museum of Nature and Science in Ueno in Tokyo. But if you want to see a statue, go to Shibuya. Definitely a cool dog. Hachiko is so popular that tourists from various parts of the world come by to get pictures with it, as seen here. Additionally, you'll see a really cool mural of Akitas and of Hachiko here. To round out the day, we had to go to the Yebisu Beer Museum. After we saw it on the first day, or the first night that we were in Tokyo, wanted to come check it out. So in the museum, you'll see the history of Yebisu's beer making process. You'll also be able to take a tour and go through the whole complex. Lastly, you can also do a tasting of various beers, but note it's only in Japanese. If you don't understand Japanese, you can still taste the various Yebisu beers. Just go to the salon and you can still order a la carte. This is what we did, and it was pretty darn good. After our introduction to Tokyo, we then made our way to Kyoto. You can get to Kyoto from Tokyo in many different ways. However, we had to try out the bullet train. If you're in Japan, you have to try this at least once. This was a truly amazing trip. We took the N700 series Shinkansen, and basically this train has a maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour, or roughly about 186 miles per hour. The trip took about, I would say, about 3 hours, but the time flew by. You didn't feel one thing. It was as if you were floating on air on the whole trip. Didn't feel any weird jostles throughout the trip. So I would say if you have a chance, definitely try it out. It's an experience, very comfortable, cool ride. Once in Kyoto, you're going to see the Kyoto Tower, which is the tallest structure in Kyoto, and it basically acts as an observation tower. Here it is, lit up like a Christmas tree. Pretty neat. Stay tuned for part 2 of Japan 2013. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like it down below and subscribe to our channel to check out our other videos. Take care.